yet. Maybe we will. I mean, I usually start these things by dropping my voice an octave.
Get ready.
So for those who don't know, I did radio for like 10 years. And so this is the Gemma voice you know, and my radio voice is hello, hello, welcome to WHAQ. And like I know that it's an octave lower.
It's also
So
sexy as hell, yeah.
yeah, so we start by dropping our voice.
I liked that. Me too.
So yeah, so I think we can get started if you're good for that.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I can't see my face right now.
No, and I can't see your face right now, so you just have to keep talking to me, which is gonna be, this is exactly like radio. No one can see, I can't see your face, just talk into the microphone.
Right then, let's do it. Kick us off.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so the running joke is that I start everything with hello, hello. So, hello, hello, welcome to WHAQ, which is short for we have a query. It's not just random letters stuck together. And the whole premise of the show for we have a query is that we finish that sentence with something every episode. So, we have a query about coming out. We have a query for Mani does stuff. And so we kind of play with it that way. And so each week we'll play with that, and we'll get to that in a minute. So why don't we start with introducing ourselves? Liz, did you want to go first, or did you want me to go first?
You know what? We all know who's in charge here. Why don't you go first?
Sure. So I think most of you all know me. My name is Gemma. My Twitch handle is Games Mistress with a Y. And you can find me on most socials, including Tumblr, but there's no posts there yet, with Games Mistress. And I am almost 40, which is relevant because I have now been out for like a very, very long time. Like we're talking like 25 years of being out. So, and I'm not saying that like I'm old. I'm just saying that like the majority of my life I've existed as a queer person in the world, and that has shaped my experience. So I've been out for a really long time, and I've had a bit of a journey through that. We're going to have a show about coming out in the new year, probably, or just before the new year. So I won't get too into that, but I will say that my coming out has really been a journey. And when I first came out in my early teens, I came out as bisexual. And at the time, that kind of felt like, I don't want to say the only option. It felt like the only option for me because the only words I knew were gay, bisexual, and straight. And I knew that I was a cis woman who was still into boys as well. So, like, it felt like the only option. I always hated the term, never identified as bi, started calling myself gay, even if I was dating men, because that felt more comfortable. Newsflash, coming out as a lesbian in my late 30s should not have been shocking when I was calling myself gay at 15.
Just foreshadowing, that's what it was.
Yeah, just some foreshadowing.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
And it's also worth noting that like all of the men that I've had serious relationships with, except one, have come out as trans women since I started dating them. So there was also like, I was just a little bit of an egg incubator as well. But that sort of shaped who I am. And I've had a really long journey of calling myself bisexual, calling myself pansexual for like a flash in the pan moment.
Flash in the pan moment. Did you do that on purpose?
Yes and no.
Oh, okay.
Calling myself queer. Polysexual was probably the one that hit the best for me, which was the idea of being attracted to multiple genders, but not necessarily all of them or all of them in the same way. And that really hit well for me. But there's not a lot of representation or visibility. And I went back to calling myself queer. And then I came out as a lesbian a little more than a year ago. And so that's sort of been my journey. But basically for my entire adulthood, I've been out as queer and have always been out. So like I was out to my family at age 14. And it was always part of me. I was part of, gay straight alliances. I was part of queer youth groups, joined, the queer collective in university, have been on pride forming groups. So like it's always been really intrinsic to my identity. And I am cis, and my pronouns are she, her. And that's something like I have a very deep relationship with my gender identity as well. And it's that I really feel uncomfortable as anything other than feminine. The idea of like being a drag king or anything like that makes me feel really uncomfortable. And that's just because of my gender expression. It's not about other people's stuff. Like, please explore your gender. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
My exploration is that I am very feminine, and that feels really important to me. I feel kind of naked without at least a little bit of lip, without some nails, without sort of reading as femme. I've had long hair for most of my life. Like those traditional notes of femininity have always like linked really well with my understanding of being a cisgendered woman. But I obviously, like, there's no gatekeeping here. Like, gender identity is an amazing journey for a lot of people. My journey has been that leaving this house of femininity makes me uncomfortable, so I stay here.
This is my house. Like, you can't make me leave. And sorry, I'm laughing just in case anyone listens to this back, and I don't know if well, I don't know how much attention Gemma's paying. She doesn't need to pay a lot of attention to speak eloquently, to be honest. But I'm laughing because of the she, her, les in chat, the new the pronoun update. So yeah, a little bit about me then, I guess. So most of you know me. I'm Liz, or get Lizzie with it. I am very much a baby gay. Very much on the really, really good ally to more than an ally pipeline. I identify as pansexual, but also I'm very like okay with bi as a term for, I want to say for like ease, but I guess it is for ease. I will happily explain, you know, my definition of pansexuality, if someone wants to know. But yeah, pan or bi, but mainly pan. And yeah, I came out how long ago now? 2 years ago?
February of 2021.
Oh, not even 2 years ago. Damn. Okay. Almost 2 years ago.
You just like dove in the deep end, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. That's why I can't remember, because so much has happened since my gay awakening. I just, you know, what is time anyway with the pandemic and everything else as well. But yeah, so February 2021.
Can I also say that you publicly came out in like our relationship? I don't think can be like our relationship and you coming out. I don't think can be easily detangled. Mm-hmm. Like you had been, you know, and we'll talk about this on the episode about your identity, but like part of like why it's like, oh shit, is because we were really into each other and then you came out. And so for those people who knew
Gemma's sexual.
So like for people who knew that you and I were really getting into each other, the like Liz's queer piece was like not an afterthought, because your identity is not about who you're dating, but in some ways like this like reveal.
It was obvious.
Yeah, like there had already been a little bit of a reveal, I'm just saying.
But yeah, we'll dive deeper into that one on our coming out episode. But yeah, it's early days, as Amanda says. It has been quite full on though. I wouldn't change it for the world. But yeah, as soon as I realised like I was queer, I thought that pan was the right label. Very much to, as the, I was going to say the old cliche, the new cliche, as Schitt's Creek has taught us, it's about the wine, not the label, you know? I swear. So Moni in chat is saying, I swear to God, I thought you were queer when I met you first and was surprised you identified as straight. Yeah.
Also,
everyone knew before I did. Everyone knew.
Okay, but I mean, I was gonna say that's not true. You knew, you just knew it differently. But again, coming out show, we'll do an episode on it. But like, you knew in your own way for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in reflection too, right?
Yes.
Like hindsight's a wonderful thing.
But that's totally it with me and coming out as a lesbian, right? Like that was like shit, Gem. you haven't been romantically attracted to a woman in 20 years. So maybe that's a sign.
To a woman?
Just, to a man, sorry.
Yeah, are you coming out again? Wait for the
No.
episode.
No. Oh God, no. No.
Oh God, no.
But like, yeah, like I just can't
Anyway.
imagine like like hindsight's 2020, right? And then like it's like those things where like when you have ill-fitting clothes and ill-fitting clothes, you don't realize what properly fitting clothes feel like until you put them on.
Yep. Very true.
So I think
That's a good analogy. You know I love an analogy. Somebody
Hi,
says,
Brian.
I think you can't underestimate the power of not seeing people like you sometimes and the power of what everyone expects from you. 100%. 100%. Which I think, you know, that's compet for you, right? That's heteronormativity, which I guess kind of quite nicely brings us on to something else that we wanted to discuss this episode about like our viewpoints and where our view comes from for the show. You know, just want to remind people that that everything we talk about and the way that we're going to talk about things and approach things is coming from, you know, an intersectional feminist perspective. You know, it's quite clear I am on an intersection of a few things. So I think that's important to highlight as well.
Yeah, and I think that also like as part of that, we're not here to play like oppression Olympics. So for instance, like and we're not here to parse up our identities, right? Like I am always queer. I'm also always fat. I'm also always a woman. I'm also always disabled. So those things are always going to be part of who I am, part of how I talk about things, part of how I exist in the world. And my perspective very much like houses all of those pieces. And I'm not like I'm not here to parse that out and to be like, you know, like my perspectives are inherently that of a disabled person. Like I don't know how to parse that out, and I wouldn't want to. And similarly, everyone here is bringing their own perspectives, and that's actually really powerful, right? I think that intersectionalism is not just about seeing that there is ways that we have intersectional oppressions and viewpoints, but actually about recognizing that all of those viewpoints together are really important. And not to get too academic, but I did just want to bring up really quickly one of my favorite things in terms of how I approach the world, how I talk about topics like this. And there is a Black intersectional feminist named Patricia Hill Collins, and she brought about this idea called standpoint theory. And standpoint theory is the idea that we are always looking at things from our standpoint, and that if you have a bunch of people together looking at it from their perspectives, that's when the picture gets better and better, because we can only see, like we don't have 360 vision on any topic. And so by incorporating more voices, we get more and more and more perspectives that actually make a better understanding, not one that's detrimental. And so differences in how we see things aren't about one being right and one being wrong, but are actually about what assumptions we're bringing, what identities we're bringing, what knowledges we're bringing, and that's actually a complement in how we understand things better, and not about something being wrong. And it could be that when you get more info or different info, your opinion changes, your viewpoint changes, and that's amazing. That's growth. That's not defeat. That's not, that's
100%.
not a bad thing. And so it's really important to me that when we talk about stuff, there's room for lots of viewpoints at the table, room for growth, room for learning. And that's really the premise of this show, right? That me, despite being out for like all of my adult life, I still have a ton to learn. And Liz has a ton to learn, and Liz has a lot to teach me. Like there's not a discrepancy there.
And I think you need to remember as well, like, that intersectionality is so important as well, because things change. People change, thoughts change, feelings change. Like, you know, up until last year, I identified a certain way, but also in other aspects of my life, not just queerness. Like when me and Gemma first started chatting, like I wouldn't ever label myself as black, and like I now identify as disabled or chronically ill as well. And it's like those, I would never have described myself as those sorts of things, would never have given myself those labels previously, and now I do. And I think that's, one, the beauty of it, but two, it's so important because things change and that's okay.
And I think there's also this false idea of like a progress narrative, right? So like I think that I don't want to get into like too many like spicy topics today, but even this idea of, you know, transitioning and detransitioning, the detransitioning, when we're talking about gender and trans folks, the detransitioning narrative has really been taken over by TERFs. And it's being seen as like, you know, you transition and you detransition because there's been a mistake, something happened, da da da.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, the gender journey is just that. And so if at any point I, you know, went back to identifying as polysexual or bisexual or one of those things, that doesn't mean I'm a failed
Yeah,
lesbian.
it doesn't always
That
need to
means
be a
that like,
catalyst. Like it
yeah,
doesn't,
exactly.
there doesn't always need to be a trigger. And again, not to like be too cliche, but you know, it's about the journey, not the destination, you know? Like, yeah.
And Moni has a really good point in chat too about like we've been brought up by unreflective parents where like I think that there's like what happens is that we're brought up in these worlds where people are just going about the day to day, and then you might make a discovery about yourself or you might have to like make a change or whatever, and then like okay, so we've like we've crossed that threshold and now we're on the other side of the door, it's all over. And I think that part of it is just about always being reflective and things changing and circumstances changing. And I mean, when I was, you know, when I was coming out, one of the things that wasn't being talked about was the difference between sexual attraction and romantic attraction.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a distinction that I started talking about until I was well into my 20s. Um, you know, the idea of hypersexuality, allosexuality, and asexuality, which is that the A spectrum there in terms of sexual desire, etc., like that package around sexual expression, was not something we were talking about until I was in my 30s. Like, and I'm in queer circles. So I think like we're always learning new things, and that will influence how we feel about things and how we understand ourselves within a context, right? Like, we're always looking to the world as we're looking for representation, we're looking for mirrors and windows. And so sometimes we need windows so that we can see what potentials are. And sometimes we need mirrors so we have the opportunity to actually look at ourselves. And I think that having a community with all of those things is really important and is part of how we grow and continue working.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure. It's so important, isn't it, to just like find people, find representation, but not even just representation, right? Like we say, like the beauty is in those differences as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being able to learn from the people around us and respect those differences, and yeah.
And I think that's a good point too around the fact that we are not here to play oppression Olympics. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone's struggle is really valid. Marginalizations happen in a variety of ways to most people, like basically everyone in my circle for sure. And so we're not here to talk about how this is worse than this or someone has it worse than that. Um, and that therefore it's not okay to feel like I have absolutely privilege, but that also doesn't make my struggles not valid, and
Yeah.
that's true for everyone.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about the beauty of being queer and the challenges of being queer without playing those games.
Yeah.
Queerness is valid, everyone's queerness is valid. We face different challenges. Some people have harder challenges, especially when it comes to legalities and things like that around the law and society. But no one has it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be hurt by what's happened to you. And it's also okay to celebrate your joys, even if it feels like maybe you shouldn't because other people are hurting. In some ways, you know, queer joy is really important because of that, because other people are hurting.
And also, like, you need to be able to know when to check your privilege too, right? Like, yeah, okay, I'm queer, I'm fat, I'm black, but also, like, I'm educated. You know, I've got a master's degree. I have a roof over my head. I've got an internet connection. Like, you know, obviously I'm very, very privileged as well.
We both speak English, which I think is a privilege that we don't talk about all that often, right? Like, speaking English is a privilege, and it's one that we were just born into.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so it's remembering both sides of that coin.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about, like, what perspectives inform the show. And also, just to be really clear, that this is not a place that like, the morality of queerness is not up for debate here. Queer people exist, queer people are valid. We're not going to have a show where we discuss, like, is so and so really part of the queer umbrella or whatever. Those are, like, that's not the vibe here. It's a big umbrella, everyone's welcome under it. That's that. Like, if you identify as queer,
welcome.
That's good. Like, that's it.
That's
that's the bar. So that's where things are at with that, and we just wanted to, like, make sure that we're establishing that straight
house
out.
rules.
That, like, yeah, and none of those things are up for debate. So did we want to talk about the format of the show?
Yes.
Unless there's anything else you wanna add to that part around our, like, socio-political positioning?
No, one thing we didn't, like, explicitly say, obviously if you are in our circles, our wider communities, you will know that, you know, we are in a relationship, we are engaged, we are due to marry. I also flashed my ring at the camera. We're gonna have to work it out so you can see me too. Anyway,
yeah, we'll sort that out.
Yes. So to make that, this is brand new information.
And, like, shout out to, like, dear thanks, Tom. To Monty and Amanda, who are geek herring, because Monty's in the wedding party for our wedding and Amanda's reading at the ceremony. So, like, you know, we consider geek herring friends really dear friends of ours. So, like, we feel like probably most people in the Games Mistress, Get Lizzie with It, Geek Herring TV community know this, but who knows? Maybe someone's brand new and has no idea that we're getting married in 297 days. Not that I'm counting.
Yeah, so I just thought that was important to make sure everyone knows, because who knows? Who might stumble across this VOD or YouTube video or wherever this might end up, you know? Yes, it is going to happen so quickly, so quickly. Buckle up. It's coming.
We're actually going to do a show on, we'll talk about it later, but we are going to do a show on planning a queer wedding because it's been a journey.
Sure has. But we're getting there and it's going to be amazing. Yeah. And I just, I don't want to talk about it. Well, I do want to talk about it now. That's the problem.
Yes.
Oh, less than a year. Yeah. And the day is going to go so fast. I'm incredibly excited. But yeah, so the show, the format.
Yes, me, you. Who wants to do this?
Me, you, me, you. To me.
Start.
Yeah, so WHAQ. We have a query. We are going to be hoping to do some regular segments of the show. Are these working names? Have we settled on these names? I quite like them.
Yeah, I'm set on them.
Okay,
So
cool.
unless you feel the need to change, I do not.
Okay, cool. So we're going to be looking at whacking off. There's going to be a segment called whacking off, whack facts, and back in the gay. So whacking off, if there's anything that is grinding our gears or grinding our rainbow gears, I think I described it the first time round. Anything queer in the news that's worth talking about, you'll hear it in whacking off. Whack facts. Well, we don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know if this is going to be a mini game. Gemma, go on.
I have feelings.
Tell me your feelings. It's only an hour slot. Tell me your feelings.
Tell me a small portion of your feelings that are directly related to the show. Yeah, I'm really excited about the possibility of doing like a Kahoot on stream where we like do like fun trivia games with like queer facts and queer history and queer knowledge from around the world and like throughout time. Literature, real life stuff, media, politics, all sorts of stuff, because I think that there's a real opportunity to have like even just like 5 quick questions that like really spur on some conversation, right? So like stuff about, you know, like queerness, like queer people have always been here. And one of my favorite queer authors, whose name is Casey McQuiston, talks about the unbury your gaze stories. So like the idea of burying your gaze is this like media trope where if you're gay, it's tragedy. If you know, it's death, it's sadness, it's all of these things. And throughout the 90s in particular, there was a lot of burying your gaze, and early 2000s, a lot of burying your gaze in media. And Casey talks about unburying your gaze. And so it's about finding these stories that are like way back in history at a time when people will tell you there weren't gay people, and telling their stories. And so I love the idea of going to points in history where everyone likes to pretend no one was gay, and we find the 2 women who were buried together in 1250 and they had been lifelong roommates with their cat. Those stories. They were gay. Yeah. So I just think that Whack Facts having like a trivia component where we get like chat involved could be really fun. That's all.
Yes, so expect trivia. I can see some people in chat who are excited for the trivia.
Exactly, Jinx. Spinsters, like never married,
lifelong friends who couldn't find men,
who lived in one bed because it was cold, apparently, and that's the only reason.
That's the only reason we share a bed, isn't it?
You are so hot when you sleep. That is not the reason for us to share bed.
And then the last segment is back in the gay. So on this day in queer history, we'll have a little chat about that. Why said event or person was important and what we can learn from them. That sort of thing.
And that'll also be some of the like awareness days and stuff like that. So like whether it's like Ace Awareness Week or Lesbian Visibility Week or you know, Pan Pride Day or whatever, those things will be there too, just to like, you know, those like observances, I guess. You know.
Yeah, so go
ahead.
No, you're the top.
And like there won't necessarily be all of those in all of the episodes, which is a great sort of segue into saying, and I think I'm stealing Liz's thunder when I say this, is that we the show is fortnightly, so it's every other Monday, and on the Mondays we aren't having a show. The topic for the next week will go out on social media, so that will be our Tumblr, that will be our Twitter, and that will be in the Geek Herring Discord. And the idea there is that gets you thinking about things. And we also have our Tumblr Asks open. And so people can submit thoughts and things like that. And if you're really interested in a topic we have coming up, or if you really want to get engaged with one, We're really open to guests as well and things like that. So this is a way to like think about what's coming up, think about what you might want to say about it. If you've got like a book recommendation, if you've got a show recommendation, if you really just feel strongly about something, there's an opportunity there for you to like know that it's coming up. And whether you can be live for the live stream or not, you can still take part by sending in your thoughts, having a discussion on social media or in the Discord.
Yes, and please do. Like, I'll admit, I think I broke Gemma's heart a little bit, but we tried to do this on actual radio, and I need to talk to people. Like, as I said earlier, Gemma is so eloquent and brilliant, and she's definitely word wife. Me, not so much. I can just about converse, so please give me something to respond to. So yeah, on the Twitter, on the Tumblr, and in the Discord channel. Moni, stop shouting at me, okay?
And I agree completely with what Moni's saying. You are eloquent. You are also word wife. We both work as writers. We both love stories. All of those things are true for both of us. I think that I have 10 years of practice talking to myself in a studio.
I just need a little bit more prompting. So yes, lots and lots of community participation, please. And
yeah, for sure.
Keyword community, because we love you, and you know, this wouldn't be a thing without you lot. So,
and I also want to say that while we like plan to aim to center queer voices, that this is also like a space for allies as well, because
100%,
there are like, it is so important to have allies, like, and I think that while it might not be, you know, like, is there a spot for allies in coming out stories? Maybe not. But as participants in hearing about them, in like recognizing it, in taking in that information and taking part in the conversation about what it means to see representation, because again, intersectional, there's lots of ways in which, you know, representation matters, and it's not just about queerness there. But especially when we talk about queer history, queer media, you know, queer stories that way. Queer stories are everyone's stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really important to me, is that in so many ways, queerness and the stories of queer folks, the bearers of that history, has been given to queer people to carry entirely. Well, we also carry the mainstream history that we're all taught. Well, we still carry the mainstream stories that we're all taught. It's classic burden of the oppressed. Allies being part of these stories and feeling like queer stories celebrate them too, and like there's a spot for them, and that we can all enjoy these things, and that it's our history as people, not just queer history for queer people, is so important to me. And so it doesn't matter, and that also means it doesn't matter if you're not ready to come out. It doesn't matter if you're not ready to talk about your queerness. We're here to talk about queerness, and that's for everyone.
Absolutely. And that's how you learn, right? Like, that's what it's all about. And again, not to spoil a future episode too much, but that I wouldn't have been able to come out unless I thought I was an ally asking questions. You know, that's when I had my light bulb moment. And it is so important. Again, going back to that intersectionality, going back to checking your privilege. If you are in a place of privilege, if you're white, if you're cis, if you're het, like, and you're asking the right questions and you're receiving the right information from the right people, that empowers you. That gives you more knowledge and more opportunity to use that privilege to help someone else, to help a wider community, to help society. So yeah, get involved. It doesn't matter who you fuck, what your flag is.
If you
come
fuck.
join us. If you fuck, yeah. See, valid point. We're always learning.
Yeah. And so yes,
so you don't fuck. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
And so like that's the Discord. So Geek Herring Discord, we've got a channel in there. It's called WHAQ. We've got our Twitter, which is probably going to be less conversation. I mean, obviously you can respond, but like the character limit makes that challenging, right? But like there's the Tumblr ask feature as well. And so just really like feel free to like get engaged. We really want to hear your thoughts on things. And we're going to sort of like share a little bit about some of the stories that some of the stories for episodes we have coming up. Topics, just so that you have an idea of what we're thinking about, and we're definitely open to suggestions, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. So okay, I love how like in the chat right now everyone's like, "Wait, where's the bot?"
Yes, because it's not my bot. There we go. That'll do. I will be my own bot.
Yeah.
So what? But I think really like Twitter is for updates. Really, if you want to join conversation, if you want to like see cool shit.
And the algorithms on Twitter right now are also a challenge, right?
Yeah,
like,
we're probably going to get fucking shadow banned for being gay, so...
Yeah, like, Twitter is not the place of discoverability right now, but it is still... We decided... Like, we actually had a discussion about Hive and, like, Hive Social and Twitter and all of these things, and I was, like, really into Tumblr, because I thought that that would be, like, the way to really, like, have some content. And we did Twitter mostly because we were like, we don't know how to have 2 Hive accounts right now. But like Twitter is not the place of discoverability right now.
Yeah. But I think at the moment it's as sad as it is, like it's still the authority, right? For social for social media, for keeping people up to date, all of that sort of stuff. So that is where we live for now. So yeah.
Before we go to some of the topics that we're going to cover on the show, I just want to give like a huge thank you to Liz, because Liz has done all of our overlays, all of the tech, has set up all of the social media accounts, and she's doing it all. And I got to admit, I'm not pulling my weight at all just yet. There's been a lot sort of going on, and she really made this happen. So I just really want to give her a huge shout out, because she's the reason the show is happening. I just get to sit here and smile and look pretty, and Liz did all of the work, and so it's really important to me.
It's a guilty conscience. I felt bad that the radio show stopped, so I'm doing double time. I'm doing double time with the Twitch show.
But no, it's not guilt. It's like the fact that you also have the talent and skills and have honed those skills so that you could do it, right? Like, you know how to do this stuff, and you've put the effort in to learn those skills, and now you're using those skills for us and our community and the wider queer community. And I think that deserves recognition. So.
Thank you. Stop being kind.
So I really appreciate it, Liz. You're wonderful and lovely and very talented, and we couldn't do the show without you.
Thank you.
So on that note, we'll move on to upcoming topics.
Yes. So let me just I can feel my face. My face is getting a bit warm. Yes, upcoming topics. So what is episode 1? Oh god, the hand is up.
Okay, so like, I just want to interrupt and say, Liz knows this hand because I mute out when we watch TV together, because I'm
no, not this.
And when we're watching TV together, I put my hand up.
We have TV hand signals.
Yeah, we have TV hand signals. And so Liz is like, oh, that's Gem. She's got something to say. I also just want to give everyone a heads up that our first official episode 2 weeks from now is on Liz's birthday.
Why would you do that?
Because you're really special to me, and you both love and hate attention. And so as your partner, I'm the one person who can like push that boundary and like say those things. Yeah.
Do I need to... Look, you are not the person who needs to learn about boundaries. Don't make me safe word.
If you need to, you can safe word.
Do I want everyone to know my safe word?
Maybe we can make a stream-friendly safe word. Not that the one you use isn't stream-friendly in terms of content.
Oh my god, I was about to say something incredibly TOS then. I was going to say the first, non-stream-friendly phrase that popped into my head. Good job,
Please don't
filter.
Do that.
Good job, filter.
First time having the reins of Geek Herring TV. We cannot fuck it up.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Maybe
so anyway,
we'll do a birthday quiz.
Liz's birthday. Can it be about you?
Fuck no.
Why don't we do a quiz about some of your favorite queer media stuff, like One Last Stop?
Whoa, because you're telling everyone the story. You're telling everyone the answers now.
I didn't know that the content would be what's Liz's favorite show when you talk about it on socials a fair bit when new seasons come out.
What's my most favorite queer show? Spoiler alert, I'm doing it. I'm going for it now.
Okay, what is it?
No, I'm asking you. I'm quizzing you.
Well, I mean, Queer Eye.
Is it?
But the new Queer Eye. Yes. Is it? Absolutely.
Is it?
Absolutely. There's no question, because it makes you cry every episode.
But is it my favorite?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so what's your answer?
Broad City.
I don't believe it. You love Broad City, and I'm not going to question that. But Queer Eye, speaks to your soul. And you, have epiphany moments.
Also, did you know I met Tan France?
See, here we go.
He complimented my outfit as well. Did you know that, chat?
Don't worry, in the Geek Herring Discord and the WHAQ channel, Liz will put a picture of her and Tan France.
I'm going to fucking do it right now. Hang on, give me a second.
Here we go. Okay, so while Liz is proving my point around what her favorite show is.
Keep talking, come on.
Yeah, so we've got some topics coming up. We only have one episode between now and the onset of Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa. So we are going to talk about queer Christmas, basically. And in our first episode, we're going to talk about the holidays. So we're going to talk about coping with family members, about the heteronormativity of the holidays, and how to
that felt good. I feel better now.
How to deal with some of that without being okay, so here's the truth. Nothing wrong with being that annoying squeaky wheel queer person who keeps talking about these things. But one, that can get exhausting. And two, your effectiveness will wane over time if people are getting irritated with that thing.
And also,
that's not to say you shouldn't do it. Go ahead.
You want it, it's the holidays. You want to feel safe and comfortable and maybe have a little bit of fun instead of having to, school your fucking turf uncle or whatever it might be.
Yes. So we're going to talk about being queer during the holidays, basically, and some tips and tricks for dealing with family members and some of the, and also just the onslaught of heteronormativity. Now, there's less of it now. Less of it. No, that's not true. There's the same amount of the onslaught of heteronormativity during the holidays. It's that they've now also added queer stories. But it hasn't reduced the amount of hetero stories that are out there. So, so I just think we're gonna talk about that stuff, and it's worth talking about. And then we're gonna talk about some of our favorite queer inclusive holiday media, because I love crying over dykes at Christmas time.
And every other time.
And all the time, but especially Christmas. So first episode is going to be that. Liz, do you want to talk about our second episode?
Yeah, so the second episode is going to be the one that you're all going to be waiting for after this. It's going to be the coming out episode. You can hear every downright dirty detail, which most of you already know, of my coming out and Gemma's coming out. And if anyone else wants to share stories, if they feel comfortable, if they feel happy to. As we said, that there's going to be channels for people to share their stories.
And if folks want to share their stories anonymously, I'm not sure quite how anonymous you can be on Tumblr, because I think we have it set to anonymous, but people can like submit there, and so you can ask questions or tell stories, and even we, as far as I know, won't know who it's coming from. So like, it's not even about us then keeping your secret. You have told no one your identity at that point, so there's that opportunity as well. Yeah.
Sorry if the volume went all funny. Then I'd knocked my volume control on my headset.
I
wasn't trying to censor you, I promise.
And one of my my deep dive into coming out is like, yes, all of these personal stories, but I want to talk about the importance of the coming out narrative in queer culture and what will happen to unifying stories when we reach the point where people no longer feel the need to come out. Ooh. Because I do believe that is a galvanizing experience. It's and I think that there is shifts in societies that's happening now where people say things even today like, I don't know, I just always knew, everyone always knew, there was no assumptions of heteronormativity in my house, so when I started dating boys or whatever the story is, no one cared. And so I think that and I say no one cared, I mean like it wasn't ever a topic of discussion of coming out. They cared about the relationship or whatever, these you know. And so I think that this is like a galvanizing, coming out stories are a galvanizing topic in queer communities, and it's something we share a lot. We couldn't do this show without that episode, I don't think, because it's so inherent in the narratives. But I think that there's a real discussion to be had around what happens if we get to a point where these stories are no longer the backbone of the community and people don't have them.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
It would just be down to us telling the grandkids and the little rascals running around
and Amanda is so right in chat there. Sharing coming out stories are intrinsic to queer culture. Intrinsic is the perfect word for that, Amanda. Like, it is such, even when people have like, people will remark that their coming out story isn't exciting. Like, that's actually a thing people say, or like it wasn't a big deal because it's so notable that there still is a coming out story. Like, I have a coming out story, but like, it's kind of boring. But like, the fact that that is commentary speaks to what the idea is even.
Yeah, that you had the opportunity for it to be boring. Yeah. Also, a slight tangent. I just want people to get in the Discord if you're not already, because there's potentially a coming out story that I can't say on stream, and I might share in the Discord. You know it. Don't act surprised. You know the one I'm talking about. Oh, hi, Bot.
Welcome. Welcome, Streamlabs. We're excited that you're here.
Yeah. So, are we going to chat through some more episodes, future episodes? Okay, so the next one is going to be another Gemma special, I think. I mean, they're all Gemma specials, really, but this one in particular is going to be up there. So, there's going to be an episode on gay weddings. Maybe some same-sex visa rules, potentially, too.
Maybe we do that episode when you're here in Canada with me, because I think most of you have heard this already, but Liz is spending a month in Canada with me for the entire month of February.
Oh my God.
We're so excited
that could tie into Redacted.
Sure.
The other thing that we were planning to do together in Canada on stream.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, it took me a minute. I was like, which redacted? What are we redacting?
Many redactions. Is that what?
And so because it's been a wild ride planning I'm using the term same-sex wedding because that's the like legal term for the type of marriage that we're going to have.
Yes, I've been conditioned to use that language after the research, I think.
Yeah. So we promise not to do too many things that are against TOS, geek herring folks. But yeah, so
at least not on this channel.
Because, like, you know, spoiler alert for the gay weddings episode, I've never before really considered if my dress needs to match the other dress. And so, again, spoiler alert, last night, so I just bought my wedding dress on Saturday, very recently. Just bought my wedding dress like 2 days ago. And it wasn't the one I'd originally planned to buy because I found a different one. It was on super sale. I was ready.
Again, you know that whole, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey thing? Yeah. Been very much that with the dresses too.
So last night I found myself photoshopping our dresses side by side, our wedding outfits side by side, to get a sense as to whether they would match.
Also,
and if they would match too much
fake
or
news.
not enough.
You're telling everyone I'm going to be in a dress. That's not true.
I said outfit.
You kept saying dress first.
I said dress twice, though.
Yeah.
But then I didn't want to say you weren't in a dress because that felt like telling your news for you. Just saying.
But yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I think everyone knows I'm not going to be in a dress. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so I photoshopped the two of them side by side and like zoomed in on details to see like, because mine's like kind of ivory and Liz's is more white, but like mine is still white. Like, I don't know, can people really tell the difference between white and ivory? I don't know. I glow in the dark. I think anything on me is gonna look bright. Like,
it's just gonna be white on white on white.
Yeah, for me it's just like, you know, our sour cream and mayo, 2 different colors. I'm not sure. So, you know.
Do people know what salad cream is? Sorry, hang on. Is that a UK thing, or do other people know?
It's a UK thing. Salad cream is a UK thing.
Okay. Sorry, that did tickle me. Hey, Tom.
So yeah. So anyway, was like totally zooming in on details of the 2 outfits, because we're in different countries. But it's also this thing of like, do we see each other in our outfits before the wedding? Like, I don't know. Gay wedding planning is a whole journey, and no one tells you.
Find out soon
with your partner about who comes down the aisle when. Like, it's a whole thing. Anyway, so we'll be talking about that and also some of the legalities of it. And
this is just an excuse for you to wedding plan on stream, isn't it?
No, I actually don't like wedding planning anymore. I'm done.
I feel sad. Hey, Gamer Michael, welcome in. That makes me feel a bit sad, but not a conversation for now.
So maybe we'll do the gay wedding episode together here when Liz is visiting. But it's an exciting one, and it's also really interesting because same-sex marriage has been a legal thing in Canada for about 20 years. And not so, like, in the UK and different places in the UK, it's pretty recent, actually. So, and there's different rules around where you can get married. It's kind of interesting, but we'll talk about all of that. And just about, like, what it's like to get an email back from someone saying that they're not willing to do your makeup because you're gay.
Well, we did say it would be about the joy and the challenges of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, Jinx, I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a makeup artist turn us down because because it's a same-sex wedding, which I found fascinating. Because it would be twice the faces for her to do. Like,
legit, that's fucking easy money.
She would get 2 bride fees on the day and chose to get no bride fees on the day. So here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's going to be an episode that I am looking forward to, and maybe we'll get some interesting stories too about like why people choose to get married or not, because those are still relevant discussions in the queer community for sure.
Yep.
The next one I'm also really excited about. I'm skipping one and going to the next one, and then you can come back to this one, if the next one, if you like, Liz. I just want to tie it in.
Sure.
Okay. Is an episode about queer spirituality, because the church, and when I say the church, I mean the Christian church, has been a vehicle for hatred in some areas around queerness. But there is also still a thriving queer spirituality that extends well beyond just Christianity and into many different, and the difference between spirituality and religion. And some of you know this to me already, but I'm a chaplain. So, and the whole reason we're having this like big gay wedding is because I really wanted to get married in a church. And I know that people will find that like shocking, right? Like people will find that like so. People who know me, I think, are sometimes like me part way and are shocked that I'm like deeply spiritual, and then you figure a little bit more out about me and it doesn't shock me. But there's like that point in the middle where you write erotica and you need to get married in a church, huh? But yeah, so it's
multifaceted woman.
But it's been a journey, and I just want to talk about queer spirituality and how the violence that has been done against queer people through the church and through some versions of organized religion has actually created a real issue with folks being able to access, with queer folks being able to access spirituality. Because I do believe that the access to a spiritual realm of growth, whether you choose to engage in it or not, is a human right. The right to like view the universe and understand yourself as something deeper than a physical presence is a human right. You don't have to believe any of that. That's also a human right, and I applaud you if that's you. Cool. But there is long-term trauma that has been done. And what does it mean to be a queer person? To be told that the things that aren't of this world are inherently against you. So if you want to believe in anything, it can only be physical. And I just want to talk about that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And then upcoming also will be an episode about intersectionality again, because obviously, as we've already mentioned, like there is a lot of it in this stream, there is a lot of it in our communities, and it's important. We want to make sure that we're doing it justice and we're having some good conversations about it. Hey Lula.
And I think too, like, not to speak too much for you, Liz, but one of the things that I think about a lot is when we've talked about therapy and you've talked about, is a queer therapist, like finding Black and queer together is a challenge, especially where you geographically live.
Yep.
So do you think a queer therapist will be more understanding of your Blackness, or a Black therapist be more understanding of your queerness?
Mm-hmm. And again, not to like spoil too much, because I'm sure we'll probably talk about it then. That is exactly the issue that I had, and I had to think about it. I had to think about it a lot and decided that, and it's horrible to think, right? Like, I decided that I was less likely to be discriminated against if I went to a queer therapist. Hang on. I'd be less likely to be yeah. I thought that a queer therapist would be more okay with me being Black than a Black therapist being okay with me being queer. And then in the end, it was a bit fucking weird, and they started asking me about race and power dynamics and all sorts of shit that I was not paying them to talk about. So that ended pretty swiftly. So yeah, intersectionality is important. And maybe I'll flex my other 5 minutes of fame and post the article that I was in talking about Black mental health, Black queer mental health. So, yeah.
Which includes one of my favorite quotes of all time. Did you want to share it? Your line about intersectionality?
Do you think I could remember it? Keep them busy, I'll find it.
Yeah, for sure. And so those are some of the like big topics, and I know they sound heavy, but we also are going to have an episode about ballroom, not ballroom salsa, ballroom like duck walk. Because I love ballroom culture. I love dance. We're going to talk about drag. We're going to talk about queer media. We're going to talk about pride. And there's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that that's one of the things that's really important to me is that as a kid, when I was coming out, it was really clear that a lot of the stories, it was very much like the height of like bury your gays kind of stories. And I was looking for queer joy. And I will never, ever forget. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more when we talk about gay weddings, but I'll never ever forget that when I was like 17 years old, this same sex male gay couple invited me to their wedding. And it was just like, I'm actually not sure it was a legal wedding. I think it was like right on the cusp, and it may have been on either side of that date, to be honest. And it was, I shouldn't have been there in terms of proximity to the couple. I wasn't close to them. We'd never really hung out. They knew me through, I had done some public speaking about being a queer teen and how challenging it was and things like that. And we'd met through like mutual friends. And they invited me to their wedding to see their wedding. So and it was so clearly the two of them saying to me, to young me, look at what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I really grasped how meaningful that was until I was older. I still remember it. I remember it so well. I remember the dress I wore. I remember sitting at the table and like the two of them, like, I remember the speeches where they talked because one had proposed to the other with like a really fancy watch, and one of them like forgot the brand of watch or whatever. And so there was this joke that it was just like a Casio $20 watch or whatever. And like, I remember those things so well. But like, there is always opportunity to highlight queer joy. And if you are not seeing queer joy, it's because something in some version of homophobia, whether that be heteronormativity within society, homophobia in your own life, internalized homophobia, if you're not seeing queer joy, there's some form of homonegativity clouding your vision because it's there. And I really want queer joy to be a part of all of the episodes.
Hell yeah. I feel a bit awkward going back and reading out the quote now.
No, it's important. This is one of my favorite quotes about intersectionality ever, and it's Liz's.
Oh, stop it. So, for a little bit of context, a little bit of background, I work in digital public relations, and an opportunity came for me to speak to a journalist, and me being the hustle queen digital marketer I am, decided to take that opportunity and to link to our immigration fund to try and get some tips. So the discussion was, so the article, and I'll post it in the channel afterwards as well. It was for the Metro, which is a big outlet over here. And the article was why LGBTQ plus people of colour need to talk about mental health. And I said that in a world where it's so dangerous to be either identity, intersectionality is a threat to a peaceful life. That only increases when it comes to mental health, where often there's no respite at all. We need people who are like us to show us that it's okay and to share that lived experience with.
A threat to a peaceful life. Goodness gracious, talk about the norm being something we aren't, you know?
Yeah. So
powerful.
Yeah, that's what it's about. That's that, I think.
See, you are word wife, and you are smart, and you are eloquent.
I'm word wife when I've got a week to respond to some questions.
That doesn't make it less valid.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Amanda.
So yeah, I'm excited about what WHAQ has to offer. I'm excited to be a part of this community. I'm excited to do this with you because one of the things that I love most about our relationship is that we are always finding things to do together, and we are not passive. We are not in a passive relationship where we kind of like just coexist. As much as coexisting is awesome, it's always been really important for me to have intentionality in relationships where you have shared projects, shared goals, shared interests. What are we doing? Liz knows this so well, but one of the things I'm always saying is like, so what are we doing tonight? And like, it doesn't matter what the answer is,
Napping.
but there needs to be an answer. There needs to be an answer. Like, what are we doing? And it can be like just chilling, cool. But my question is always, what are we doing tonight? So I'm really excited that every week, basically, when I ask, what are we doing? One of the answers will be working on WHAQ. And I'm really excited about that.
Me too. Very much so.
And excited to have everyone in the community, like, as part of this, right? Like, we're going to have guests on, like, get ready, because we're going to be in your inboxes asking you to stream with us. Just saying.
Let's go. So yeah, that's it. That's WHAQ in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah. Do you have any buttons you need to practice pushing, Liz?
No, I don't think so. I was actually gonna, finish the episode before we push buttons, babe. But
I wasn't sure if there were like do you want to practice our break screen?
I can
practice.
I can't hear any of this, but I'm just gonna play sound effects over the top of you. How's that? You like that? I don't like that. Anyway, I can push a few buttons. Let's push some buttons.
You don't have to. It was just an ask.
Be right back screen.
Nice.
Excellent. I should probably add the song to the be right back screen. Although I don't. Sorry. Yeah, that was a big beep. I'll be honest. Although I can't imagine we're gonna need to go be right back. Anyway, let's go back to the just chatting screen. I guess we'll cut all of this out because I do intend to upload this somewhere in episode 4.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with things being a work in progress. This is the whole point we're making. We get to show our vulnerabilities and our imperfections.
The best thing about this is that you can't see what I'm doing.
Oh, what are you doing?
Nothing. I'm listening to you. So, Gemma, if I was just surfing the web, the information speedway, where would I find you? Where would I find you in your profiles?
Right up your butt.
Up your butt and to the left.
So I am Games Mistress everywhere that you want to see this form of content. I have another name. You don't want that content. I am Games Mistress everywhere. Games with a Y. So GAYMES. Mistress. Everywhere that you want to find me. And that includes Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. Where else do I exist?
Hive.
Twitch, obviously.
Are you on Hive yet? You are on Hive.
I am on Hive. Yep, Hive as well. I'm Games Mistress everywhere you want to find me. You may find like latent accounts, places that are still like CDN Book Girl, which was short for Canadian. It's an old username, but like that's me on Steam, right? Steam never lets you change your name. You get one name. That's it. I'm still CDN Book Girl. Girl. GRRL. Right, girl reference. But like socials, Games Mistress everywhere. Yeah. And if you want, like I write erotica and I have this like 30 days of smut challenge starting, which I actually am starting tomorrow. That is actually when I'm starting it.
Are you actually?
Actually, I've started.
Oh, yeah. Do I get a little preview tonight or?
What
that sounded.
What are you looking for?
Wow, that wasn't what I meant.
Yeah. Now who's TOS? Yeah. So.
The timeout. I'm doing the timeout sign.
30 days of and it's on Tumblr. And I will drop that in the Discord if people are interested in doing that. It's going to be kink light, multiple genders, multiple dynamics, shorter pieces. And this one features kissing.
Oh, lovely. Very nice.
Not saying where.
Oh, God.
And where can we find you, lovely Liz?
Lovely Liz. You can find me. Oh, no, I can't. Get Lizzie with it. You know, like, what? Do you know what? I considered a brand change after the Oscars. But I am Get Lizzie with it on Twitch, on Twitter, on Hive, on Tumblr. I am _ Get Lizzie with it on Instagram. That's where you can find me on Ko-fi, all over the internet. Is that all the accounts? I think that's all the accounts. Are you fucking bored, love?
Yeah, and no, I'm just kidding. And you do subversive cross stitch.
I do.
On
and gay cross stitch. I do yes. Subversive and very gay cross stitch. On Etsy you can find me at NYN Stitching, which stands for Not Your Nan's Stitching. And that's us.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. We're so excited to get started. Thank you for letting us kind of just have a slow start with an episode 0, figure things out, get a sense for things.
I hope someone was writing down what I need to troubleshoot.
I've remembered it all.
Oh yeah, you are memory wife, that's true.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And so yeah, so I think that we're good.
Oh, thanks, Amanda.
For today. Thank you, Amanda. I think this is it for today, unless Liz, you had anything else you wanted to touch on before we go?
No. I just wanted to echo. Oh, not you.
Yeah. Are you going to talk to the assistant now?
That is the wake word for my. I don't know that one. For my Amazon device. I don't know if you can hear her. I wanted to reiterate what Gemma was saying and just thank you all for being here. Thank you so much. I was absolutely shitting myself and I've had a great time. So yeah.
The Get Lizzie with it story.
100%. But should we find someone lovely to pass you on to? Stick around, we're going to raid someone. I think
before the show we were talking about raiding and whether we were going to raid out and things like that.
Stealing my thunder.
Go ahead.
Again. No, don't worry.
Go ahead.
No,
go. We're good.
No one gets to hear the story now then.
Oh, well, I can't let that happen. And we were like, yes, raiding's important, but we're going to only raid queer people. Like, that's going to be the rule, is that WHAQ only raids folks who are queer. And then we were like, do we know any straight streamers? And then we weren't sure we did. At least not folks streaming, like, around the same time as us, for sure. Yes, and that's it, right? Like,
Tom.
And I have a friend whose name is Josh, and Josh is, like, the token straight person in our otherwise like queer family that like Liz met much of when she was here and stuff. Like Josh is like token straight in my life here, and Tom is like token straight in my Twitch life. There's just like one great ally guy, non-toxic masculinity, and one.
Just the one.
I like how people are like, I know a straight, as if they're like trying to prove that, like, not in a negative way, but just like our circle's so queer. I know us straight.
Just the one. Where are we going? I've sent you some suggestions. Where'd you fancy?
Okay.
I found one this morning. A stray one. They needed a home and some food. Right then, let's send you all over to, have you got chat open, babe?
Yes.
Would you like to fashion a raid message?
No.
Please?
Yeah, what do we want it to be?
Something real cheesy, like Whack Attack.
So like...
Whack your back. Ooh.
I really, because of who we're raiding, I really want the raid call to be something like "We're here to whack you off," but I don't think it should be. But it's what my heart wants.
Do it. As long as that's not a regular raid call, I think we'll be fine. We're gonna go see Biggest. So come and join us. I'm sure most of you were already there anyway. I don't hear no typing, Gem.
Excuse me? And you say you're not a top.
I try sometimes. Oh my god, you're typing like my mother. I can hear the singular key press.
It was not singular key presses.
Right, if you are a sub to GHTV, grab that message. If you are a follower, do your own fucking thing. Otherwise we're going to be here all night waiting for Tippy Tappy over here. And we'll see you in a fortnight. Thank you for hanging out. Mwah,
Thank
mwah.
you.
Peace.